Why do you think marijuana should be legal in Michigan?
Well, I'll start by splitting off the word. I think it should be lawful in Michigan, as well as legal. A lot of people don't realize there is a difference in those two things. Just because something is legal does not mean it's lawful. Murder by self-defense is legal, but murder is unlawful. So there's a strict difference there, but there's a lot of reasons. Most fundamentally, if we look at the reason this country was created, a right of self-determination at least. There's no harm, there's causing no harm. You can walk outside, stick a fork in your eye, they may lock you up in a padded room, but they're not going to throw the book at you, fine you, throw you in prison because you lit a plant and used it in public or elsewhere. So legal is kind of for me, is a sketchy word. Alcohol is legal right up till you're under arrest. That's why I prefer the word lawful. And why it should be lawful is because it's just a plant. It's a very beneficial, very helpful plant that mankind has had an association with for over 10,000 years of recorded history. I don't think 40 years of mankind's trying to take control of Mother Nature or God, however you want to describe it, has worked out so well.
How do you think, in comparison to Michigan Legalize, the Abrogate petition is going so far?
Well, I don't think there's much to compare. They're completely different processes. One's a constitutional amendment, one is a legislative amendment. That's kind of the fact that the people have to vote for is pretty much where the similarities pretty much stop. As far as going, I feel personally there's a lot more support for full repeal than there has been in the past, obviously, and a lot more support for full repeal over recreational legalized marijuana in the state. We've been devastated by so many different things. We've been devastated by NAFTA, all of our jobs being sent overseas, up into Canada, even down into Mexico. Meanwhile, our roads and our places, our people starved. We just fell underneath. I understand the medium income of the middle class in Michigan is falling under $50,000 a year. This is just kind of insane. How's it going? I think it's going really well. We'll go out. People are out petitioning and they get 3 signatures and 1 or 2 people want to take petitions with them or know where they can get petitions so they can circulate them. I wasn't involved in the other campaigns, so I can't say. I can only give you my opinion by their updates, and at the point we look similar in as far as response, but I think as far as grassroots support, I believe we've gotten a lot more than they have at this point in the game.
What does it mean exactly that Abrogate is a constitutional amendment unlike the other petitions out there?
In law, in this country, constitutionally speaking, pretty much everybody out there will tell you the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, which means pretty much all other codes, policies, legislation must conform underneath it. The Michigan Medical Marijuana Act was passed as legislation, initiated legislation. I myself thought it was passed as a constitutional amendment. It was actually purported that it was a constitutional amendment. Being a fool, I never looked closely enough and didn't realize it was initiated legislation, because there is a significant difference. When you put something in the Constitution, all laws of the land, so to speak, must come underneath that and abide by those things. Right now, there's legislation in place that says cannabis, marijuana, hemp, however you want to label it, is illegal in the state. Although that's what a lot of people think. The way the legislation is parsed is kind of funny, because in legislation it mentions cannabis sativa L as being what is quote unquote prohibited, but cannabis sativa or cannabis indica is not even mentioned, although cannabis rudialis is, which would be the conformant of hemp, counterpart hemp. So even the law is really kind of gray in what's really prohibited. Constitutionally speaking, though, the difference is it's the supreme law of the land. All other courts, all other legislation, all codes, all policies are supposed to conform underneath that supreme law. So as a constitutional amendment, we are changing the foundation, if you will, of what all other laws or other codes are based upon.
Was Hash Bash a successful event to grab signatures this year?
Yeah, even with the snow, we still went down and we had a lot of good signatures, we got a lot of good support. It started snowing somewhere around 12:30, 1 o'clock, kind of light, up until about 2 o'clock. It started coming down fairly heavy. That kind of slowed us down because we were all out on foot. We didn't have a booth. We were just kind of ground pounding it. But yeah, we had a lot of good support. We passed out a lot of blank petitions with people who wanted to take them home for other people to sign in their area. Explained a lot about the differences in how to actually fill out the petition. And we picked up a lot of really good signatures. I can't say for sure how much more we got because everybody's not gotten their sheets back to me yet. But I know I filled out 3 or 4 sheets in just an hour or so. Maybe 2 hours that I was stationed at one spot on Tappan Street. I got a good response until the cops come up, shut us down because we didn't have a permit to be on Tappan Street. So
that kind of leads into my next question. Do you have a count on how many signatures have been grabbed yet?
Unfortunately, I don't. What we do have is a whole lot of sheets that we're going through. What I know for sure, because being a grassroots, there's no solid network to put petitions out there and pick them up. Being a true grassroots, it's kind of up to the people to bring the petitions to our awareness that they're ready to be picked up, mail them in, and they are located throughout the state. So we are getting them sent back, we're having them picked up, we're accumulating everything that has been taken to date, which is we're about 85 days into the campaign right now. So all I can say, I'd hate to throw a definite number or something kind of hard and not be right. What I can say is we've got at least probably a box full of sheets back, and most of them full with signatures, some of them in various forms, 1, 2, 3 signatures, 8, 9 signatures. There's 12 available on the sheet. And we got probably at least a box back that we've gotten throughout the couple places that are holding them right now. But there's a lot of them out there, so we're waiting for them to come back. With that being said, if you got sheets and they're filled out, fill them out completely, sign your sheets and get them sent back so we can get that number. We need to get to a solid number here fairly shortly, so I am putting a call out to get all of our currently signed sheets sent back to us so we can get a hard number. We're working on a true grassroots. I mean, we're not drawing a lot of money into the campaign. We need enough to keep us going. We've been getting enough to keep us going. But this is something that is going to benefit pretty much everybody in the state, whether you're a cannabis user or not. When we look at the tax savings of not prosecuting not just medical cannabis patients who have been, so-called run, quote-unquote, afoul of the law, which is kind of asinine to think about in the first place, the entire state. As I understand it, there's approximately $500 million a year annually spent to arrest and prosecute drug possession cases in the state of Michigan. Now I'm assuming that is all drug possession cases, so that's not all just cannabis or medical cannabis patients. But they do apprise about 60% of that number by all statistics. So that's a pretty significant number. When you look at $500 million is what the state spends just to go through courts, that could be $250,000, $350,000 a year that the state's going to save by just getting rid of having to prosecute cannabis patients. We're in 80 years of prohibition. Alcohol prohibition only lasts 17. And we still see almost as many alcohol issues today under legalization as we did under prohibition, which, in my opinion, when you look at history, were nowhere near as bad as the alcohol problems before the state decided they needed to do something about it with the 17th Amendment. So, there's 50,001 reasons why prohibition needs to be repealed. And the number one reason is we've got an endocannabinoid system, and cannabis is a damn nutrient. It's a food, it's a sustenance, and it's a part of our daily makeup and has been, as I said earlier, for 10,000 years of documented history.